year now. I did want him to go to a big European club because I know how good he is and I know what that can do for his career. However, I never wanted him to go in the middle of the season when Napoli were top of the league. I feel like, again, that's bad business from Napoli. I've made my own video about Kvaratskhelia, and to be fair, it's only been out for like 3 hours, and I appreciate the support on that video. It's doing quite well. But I just want to see what Bruno TV has to say about Kvaratskhelia, and if we've made any of the same points or anything like that. If we've made the same points, what's being said, if I got anything wrong on my analysis. So we're going to see what Bruno TV is saying.
There was talk of him joining Paris Saint-Germain in the summer. I think that talk will still be out there now.
Antonio Conte came out and said he's asked to leave the club.
Well, that was fast. I know it wasn't out of nowhere per se, as there were murmurs in the summer, but nobody expected a mid-season transfer of this magnitude. A player of Kvaratskelia's reputation, leaving the team that is currently in first in Serie A to join PSG, according to Fab.
Again, this is what I said. This goes back to Napoli being extremely incompetent, number one, and Kvaratskhelia being as competitive as I thought that he was. I knew he was going to leave. I didn't think he was going to leave in the summer. But again, I've talked about Napoli about this time and time again. A team as good as Napoli, with the talent that they possess, they should have been way more diligent when it came to their handling of Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen. They may still win the league, but this situation definitely looks bad. Let's carry on.
Things to clarify, and then we will have the here we go.
And all of this just a few months after Napoli supporters went through the circus that was Victor Osimhen's strange exit from the club.
That's what I'm saying. Napoli have embarrassed themselves with the handling of both Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen. And I am a fan of the Serie A. When you compare the Serie A to the likes of the Premier League, where it's just Man City or Liverpool winning, the likes of La Liga, where it's just Madrid, Barca, and Atletico, Serie A has been competitive, and throughout the last like 6 or 7 years, you've had Juve, Napoli, AC Milan, Inter Milan all winning, and you've had teams like Atalanta also being competitive. Like, I really enjoyed the Serie A, and I still want to see Napoli being competitive, but this is not the way to handle your superstars, especially players that we knew from your Scudetto winning year were in high demand.
Maybe it's the fact that Khvicha Kvaratskhelia is still on his original contract from when he signed in 2022, meaning he's ranked 19th amongst the highest paid Napoli players. Or maybe there's another reason. But we'll go through it all with the help once again from my man Dom from Napoli Talk, great friend of the channel.
Now, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that Kvaratskhelia was still on the same contract he had when he first signed to Napoli. The best player on the team, especially now with Osimhen gone, Kvaratskhelia is easily the best player on the team. And you're telling me that Kvaratskhelia isn't the best. You're telling me that Kvaratskhelia isn't the best player, the best paid player on the team? That is a joke. That is a joke and a horrible way for Napoli to handle their business. Let's carry on.
It all with the help once again from my man Dom from Napoli Talk, great friend of the channel, great knowledge of Napoli. Shall we get to just how things collapsed between Napoli and Kvara? How will they fare without him? And first and foremost, how did we get to this point?
Still, Khvicha Kvaratskhelia!
Dom joined us just months ago to speak positively about things at Napoli, with how well they are doing under Conte. So where we left off, Conte had told those who he wanted to stay that they would stay, and in case they didn't want to stay and he wanted them there, Conte would get them to clean boots or work in the kitchen, do whatever. It was his club and they'd do things his way.
And everything was quiet. Everything was quiet. There was no big drama in the background. There were a few things from the agent.
That's another thing that may have possibly pushed Kvaratskhelia over the edge to go to PSG. I think Antonio Conte is an amazing manager. His track record speaks for itself. What he done with Chelsea in his first season was amazing. what he done with Juventus was amazing. However, Antonio Conte is notoriously known for being a difficult manager to work with. And from the reports that are coming out, it's probably the case where, him and Kvaratskhelia, or him and someone going to, a little bit of a disagreement, and probably told to, like, okay, if you don't want to be here, go. And Kvaratskhelia said, yeah, I'll dip. And again, that is not the best way to handle your business.
But
A team that's first in the league, that's not the best way to handle the business.
thinking was that things would just naturally happen over the summer, and maybe in June you either have a new contract or you part ways.
So essentially, Napoli wouldn't have thought that Kvara would have handed in a transfer request mid-season, when the club is currently at the top of Serie A. I'm not sure many people expected Napoli to be in this position in Serie A, considering where they came from in the season prior, the disaster season, the massive season-long hangover, really, from winning the Scudetto with Spalletti. I mean,
why can't you stay organised? I've experienced this myself, and it's called chronic impulse control, where you prioritize.
with Conte, a guy who basically guarantees silverware, except at Tottenham, right? But come on, right? But with Conte, there's always at least a strong chance that you'll win something. And so with the players that arrived in the summer, plus the guys that Conte was able to convince to stay, such as Kvara, that's led to a fantastic campaign where they have been fighting Atalanta for the top spot, overtaking them after their victory over Fiorentina in early January. But that match had a bit of a warning sign.
All of a sudden, Kvara doesn't get named in the team sheet last week with a injury, and we all know what that means when someone gets an injury in the months of January or late August. It means that you're on the market. It means that someone's out there that's serious about getting you, and the club doesn't.
Again, I wanted Kvaratskhelia to go. I've been saying this on my channel for like over a year now. I did want him to go to a big European club because I know how good he is and I know what that can do for his career. However, I never wanted him to go in the middle of the season when Napoli were top of the league. I feel like, again, that's bad business from Napoli. And I'm not going to blame Kvaratskhelia at all. As I've said, these players need to be selfish because some of these clubs will leave them out to dry. Players have to be selfish, okay? Napoli should have handled the situation a lot better. The contract for PSG is like Kvaratskhelia is going to be getting paid like something like 5 times what he's earning right now at Napoli. How, as a football player, how are you going to say no to that? As someone like Kvaratskhelia who came from a poor background. Pardon me, Georgia is a great country, but economically Georgia is not up there really and truly, if we're being honest. So if someone who's come from, a poor background, who's done everything he possibly could have done for Napoli, and Napoli's not really shown that love back. How is your best player in the team get, the 19th best played, the 20th best paid in the team? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Let's carry on.
Don't want to risk you getting injured. And Conte confirmed as much leading up to the Napoli-Verona game on the weekend, saying that Kvara handed in a transfer request. And that was a huge shock because, we're first in the table. And Kvara's maybe not performing at his best, as I said, but he's an integral part of the team. So it's very strange for a player to leave a club that's first in the league while you're a starter.
Now, Conte himself has mentioned that he is disappointed in how things have gone. Not that he's mad at the club, nor is he even upset with Kvara.
No, he should be. Conte, you are mad at Tottenham for being incompetent. Conte should also be mad at Napoli for the way they handled the situation. And now, we're not going to blow this overboard because Napoli are still first in the league. They can still win the league. They're being competitive. We know all that stuff. But if I'm a manager and one of my best players goes because the club couldn't give him a better contract, I'm going to be extremely mad at that. Extremely mad at that. But again, let's not blow things overboard because Napoli are still first in the league.
As a former player, I'm sure he knows that Kvara has to do what he believes is best for him.
Yeah, man.
Conte's more just disappointed that he wasn't able to convince Kvara to stay, that he wasn't able to convince him that Napoli was the best place for him, that they can achieve something fantastic once again with the club, build his legacy further in the city, improve him as a player. Similarly, that he couldn't convince the club to make coming to an agreement of the highest priority for them.
He said in the summer, if I say someone doesn't go, he doesn't go. And so I think that hurt his ego, that Kvara, after 6 months, said, you know what, I'm not listening to that. Here's my official transfer request.
Well, he hasn't been the outrageously good Kvara of his first season. Again, we don't judge any Napoli players for last season, really. But he has still been quite good. Beyond just the goal and assist numbers, of which he has 5 goals and 3 assists this season, he carries that reputation of being dangerous. He demands the attention of the opposition. But
I feel like his performances have not been at the level of 2 years ago. Maybe it's because of these contract negotiations happening in the background. Maybe he's not able to perform with a clear mind.
Now, as much as I love Kvaratskhelia, and you guys know how much I like this player, a good point is brought up here, and I've talked about this on the stream on Sunday as well. Kvaratskhelia this season has not been performing has not been performing at his best. He's going to PSG, and the media out in France, they're cutthroat. The media out in France are extremely cutthroat, and if Kvaratskhelia is not performing, and if PSG go out in a silly way as they always do in the Champions League, and then next season they don't do as well in the league, fingers are going to get pointed at, and it's always easy to point the finger at the new signing. It's always easy to point the finger at the new guy that was meant to come over and save the club, but has not been able to do it. I still think that Kvaratskhelia has all the talent in the world to make it happen. But again, you look at like João Felix, who I also thought had all the talent in the world. Look at how he's playing right now. Not very good. You know, his output is not there. So again, he's just a cautious warning to Kvaratskhelia, where he's an excellent player, but with your salary being multiplied 5 times, with going to a bigger club in one of the biggest cities in the world, you're going from Napoli to Paris, the eyes of everyone are going to be on you. PSG is also a club that a lot of teams outside of Europe and globally support. There's going to be a lot more eyes on Kvaratskhelia this season.
Mind. And at times on the field, he's been a little bit emotional and nervous, you know, maybe reacting to little things like someone fouls him, the referee doesn't give a foul, and he reacts. You know, he's very just jumpy at the moment. He's trying a bit too much to get that amazing goal and top bins, and sometimes we don't need him to do that. Sometimes we just need him to put in a cross, even if it's not the sexiest thing in the world.
speaking of sexy things, that's a great way of describing just how not only good Napoli was under Spalletti, but how they played. And a large part of that was down to Khvicha Kvaratskhelia. With Antonio Conte, you get results, but you also get a very different approach to the game, which made me wonder, did Conte's tactics have anything to do with this? That's not to say that attackers don't thrive under Conte. Look at Lukaku, look at how Neres has been playing lately. But it's not the free-flowing, free-scoring attack of the Spalletti days. And I wonder how much of that has played on Kvara's decision.
It's no surprise that Conte is extremely defensive-minded. Napoli have 12 clean sheets in the league right now out of 20 games. That tells you all you need to know about Conte's priority. And that means that if you're a winger, the number one priority is to track back, is to defend. And Kvara sometimes, he receives the ball before the halfway line and he's got 50 meters, 50 yards to run.
Not every player will so easily adapt to any single style of play. I know this is a random example. But I remember when Niko Kovac was sacked by Bayern, and Thomas Müller would later speak about how it just didn't feel like Bayern finally getting the ball way too close to their own box and then having to go all the way down the pitch. How things changed so greatly with Hansi Flick in charge, right? But of course, there is no single reason for Kvara and Napoli to have come to this. It's always an accumulation of things. And when it comes to Kvaratskhelia, the same could be said. See, as I mentioned in the intro,
Yeah.
Kvara is still on the same salary from when he signed with Napoli in 2022, when they signed him from...
Yeah, but I think we get just the gist of the video. I'm gonna react to more of this in my own free time, but I feel like we've covered Kvaratskhelia enough in the sense that I've made a video about him, I've made a reaction on him, we've watched a lot of videos, we've watched this one now from Rabuna TV, massive fan of Rabuna TV. Go subscribe to them if you want to. Great channel. I've always been a fan of them even before I started my own YouTube channel, so yeah, go do that. But yeah, I just feel like I don't want to be on the same dead horse, and there's a lot of speculation, and I'm more someone that likes to analyze things that are happening right now, or even just react to things. Too much speculation, in my opinion, in sports is kind of a waste of time, because as we always say, these speculations and these how do you say, and these predictions, they always have a way to hit the fan, you know. They always have a way to not go how you want them to go. So we'll stop it there. We will stop it there. But we'll move on because there's